Councilor Mellon. Levitsky.
Present.
Councilor Kulturitis.
Present.
And Councilor Gardner.
Present. If I could ask everyone to stand for a moment of silence and then the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to welcome to the lectern, South Shore Convention Visitors Bureau Executive Director, I believe, Mr. Dave Uran. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you. Before I start, I'll pass this up. We can pass this along. This is a little bit of document to execute the records. Well, good evening, everybody, and I'll try to keep this brief. Very respectful of your time. I know you have a long agenda. My name is David Uran. I'm the President and CEO of the South Shore Convention Visitors Authority. We also have with us Matt Maloney, who is your appointment to our board. And to my right, which would be your left, would be our Chief Sports and Leisure Officer, Megan Gooden, and she's going to help navigate through this PowerPoint presentation real quick. And just kind of give you the lay of land where the South Shore is currently at and what kind of impact who we are. Before we begin, South Shore, we are not the train, we're a visitors authority. We get that associated all the time, but the train is very important to the region, but South Shore Visitors CVA is not the train. So we'll go right into our presentation here. We have a tagline now. When I was the mayor of City Crown Point, we had a tagline, building a stronger community from within. We now have a tagline with our organization, building a stronger tourism industry, one visitor at a time. And as we can continue to bring those visitors from outside the region into here, they leave their disposable income here. They help support economic growth. But we also want to make sure we're educating and raising awareness to the local visitors from cities, the cities and towns to town, and try to get a better understanding of who we are. That's why we're here tonight. So we are celebrating our 40 years. Our organization was developed in 1983 by enacting legislation by the state of Indiana. And so we have an acronym for our 40. We're forging opportunities for residents, travelers, and youth sports. That's our niche, and that's how we get people to come to the region and support tourism. So what do we do? We're going to dive into this a little bit. We prospect, we secure, and we host sporting events. Some of the things you see right here. Sports tourism is $1 billion, that's a B with a B, $1 billion industry in today's marketplace. We market to leisure travelers. We have our area guide here, and that really starts to promote everything that's great to do in the region. The shorelines of Lake Michigan, to our attractions, to our places to stay, and really invest and see what the region has to offer, from our lodging perspectives to our restaurants, historical downtowns. Northwest Indiana has a whole lot to offer in the area of the Midwest. So we like to promote our region's best businesses and attractions. Again, we talked about before, from festivals, from adventures to from Whiting to Hammond to Munster to Crown Point down to Cedar Lake. Northwest Indiana has a lot to offer. What's the benefit of tourism? This is where we want to start to go through and talk about community investments such as yours or anybody in the region, and how this makes a huge impact. The community investments through sports helps economic impact to your local businesses, and we're able to bring more people in front of those doors so the private business can actually have a business to capture in and get their dollars we spend here in the region. It creates jobs. So we're going to talk about a little bit real quick. Tourism in 2021, we're in 2023, but it takes a little time, right? We're still in government, so we have to gather all this stuff up. But it's a $1.1 billion industry. That is the largest and highest ever in Lake County for tourism. This creates, like I said, over 15,000 total jobs supporting the traveler. There's over just under $500 million in total wages, $220 million in total federal, state, and local tax revenues, and $774 million in total economic impact. And why does all that number mean something to like the town of Munster? We're going to go to the next slide here. This is a huge impact. Without tourism, There's over 190,000 households in Lake County. You have 90,000 households in Munster alone. That averages by supplementing your incomes by collecting through tax revenues over $663 or $633 per year for every household. That means you guys have more as a town council to do with your dollars to reinvest in infrastructure, police and fire, other things like that, that tourism brings to the table so the homeowner doesn't have to supplement that, or you have to make a decision what to cut because you have to have less dollars because of the property tax caps that are out there, unless you pass referendums. You know, the 1%, 2%, and 3% tax caps puts a strain on municipalities. So if you're not raising your assessed valuation, reinvesting in quality of life projects in your own community, it's difficult to sit there and go, we need to reinvest in our homeowner to make us stronger tomorrow than we were today. So partnering opens the doors for new economic opportunities. Tourism, and what we want to do through our mission is to continue to reinvest and have more people to come here in Northwest Indiana and enjoy themselves, come out and enjoy our amenities, and capture that $633 and continue to raise that bar into $700, $800, up to $1,000. That way, you as a town council and the government in general in the county here can actually look to reinvest other dollars that people leave here. I always tell people, like we did in Crown Point, Monday through Thursday, our in-house league, especially in sports tourism, right? But Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you can flip those to sports economic opportunities and engines. And we can all walk into restaurants, we can all walk into different places in your community right here, and nobody would know we're visiting. When we start to see those sports kids come in and they wear across their chest who they're playing for, what state they're from, now you start to see the economic impact of what sports tourism does. And so our mission is to, as we go forward here, is to continue to raise the awareness, understand how investments work, and we're always going to try to find ways to make those investments not on the backs of residents or business communities, but complement what they're trying to do to make them work more tomorrow than they work today. I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have. I know your time's very valuable. We just wanted to kind of put a face with a name and see what the new mission is about what's happening with the South Shore.
Very good. Council, is there any questions for President Uram?
I had one, but you answered it before you finished.
Thanks. There is a bill that's going through the State House right now. Senate Bill 434. It's for a convention opportunity for Northwest Indiana. Again, we're the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority. We all know what the South Shore is, right? We understand what the visitors are. We feel like we're pretty good in the marketplace, the authority of how to bring visitors here. We are listed at Convention Center, right? So we would hope to be able to bring that to Northwest Indiana, be able to fill days like today. Here it is this past week, 80 degrees all last week. Mother Nature, Northwest Indiana, you get all 4 seasons in one day here, right? And so having an indoor facility, a place to have gathering space in Northwest Indiana, do a sports and the private business side, we can capture the marketplace out of Chicago, being where we're located at, with Indiana benefits. Less expensive, quality of product, bring people here, let them support the commerce of Northwest Indiana. And we're just hitting that first step going forward here. And the way that bill reads today, it's going to go back to the RDA. It's going to redo that study back in 2018. If that has all the bells and whistles that we need for the region, it's been updated. What's so great about that bill is we can bring money that's going to be leaving the region through casino tax dollars that goes to the state of Indiana, bring it back here and reinvest in quality life projects like that at no cost to the residents or the business community, but to get the benefits of the direct and indirect impact that raises that 633 to higher levels as we go forward. So that's very exciting times.
Very good.
Also, yeah, President Uram, thanks for coming.
Thanks.
I think we've had a presentation in the past from the South Shore CBA. It was tied to a request for some funds, and we were happy to support that. This I found to be really informative. As you were speaking, talking about sports, I thought of an idea of an investment we've just made in our community and wondered how we might be able to partner with SS CBA, or just what you think of the idea. There's a really popular international sport called cricket, and we've just launched.
Oh, yes, timing's everything.
just on Saturday, we launched a cricket pitch that some residents locally came together, and it's, I think, the biggest ribbon cutting we've been a part of. And there was certainly a lot of demand and interest. How would something like a cricket league, or how would you view pursuing something like that?
I think it's a great idea. The sheet that I just passed out to you guys kind of talks about all the sporting events and book of business that the South Shore CBA is currently involved in. And we're always looking to add additional opportunities because you just can't have one niche, right? So if you're going to look at tourism and sports leisure that's out there, you need to add different things to your toolbox. So obviously would not be something that's listed, but we would welcome that opportunity because that brings a whole new marketplace of people that want to embark here in Northwest Indiana, not only from the regional perspective of your local leagues, but then you start to reach out to the national leagues. You're going to say, this is a great place to play. So absolutely. And Megan here would be more than happy to have those meetings on our behalf, and we would be engaged with something like that. And obviously cricket here in Northwest Indiana would be maybe the first that's being taken place right here in Munster. You guys would be the industry leader in the region. We'd like to be able to take that line with you as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Very good. Thank you. Other questions or comments?
This refers to sporting events, but everybody here, everybody in the county, I think knows that we also lost within the last 20 years, forget now, an indoor facility, what used to be called the Holiday Star
Correct.
Theater. It was where my campus had its commencement ceremonies and where there were live bands brought in from all over the world, actually. And we missed that, the convention center. We also lost, but there's talk about that. There's talk in Indianapolis about that. But an auditorium for indoor concerts and programs, and a place that our Northwest Indiana Symphony, which calls Munster home for its offices, could have a home, a decent place with great acoustics would be on my drawing board.
I think you'd see the plan over here would fit something for everybody. Not only would you have a large gathering space for just an open space area, we're trying to incorporate right around an 8,000 to 10,000 arena as well for spectators. So that way you can have events that you just described, go back to the commencements. Again, because you can plan all day long, right? Because the Radisson is now gone. And you're just as good as Mother Nature saying that we're going to have outdoor commencements in your football fields and stuff like that. Set it all up. It's going to be a beautiful day. And you can get lucky. Those are nice venues to have, but they're not always guaranteed, right? And those are the most important milestones for a young student athlete or a student that's leaving their high school. And hopefully we can really accommodate those requests that you just talked about. We feel like we have a great relationship with the NCAA. Sports side, we have a great relationship between the Indian High School Association sports as well. Just next year, because of the NBA All-Star going to Indianapolis, the wrestling state tournament has now been shifted down to Indianapolis or down to Evansville. If we had a similar situation like that taking place, why not have that here in Northwest Indiana? So, but we have to be poised and ready to have something in the inventory for that to happen. So we want to be not just reactive, but we want to be proactive when we start to think about our investments.
Yes.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the information and answering the questions. Also want to thank Matt Maloney, our resident who's on the board of directors over at the South Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. I know you have a long agenda. If you want to know what's going on every Monday in the region, if you go to southshore.cba.com and the homepage on the very bottom right-hand corner, just list your email right there, and every Monday you'll get a blast what's happening in the entire region, because we want to make sure the tourism is not only for people who live outside our area, but people who live here in the region and understand what's taking place in their own backyards. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is the public hearing for the additional appropriations. This is for ordinance 1898 additional appropriation. Is there anyone here that would like to speak for the public hearing on ordinance 1898? Seeing anyone? I don't see anybody getting up, so we'll close the public hearing. And we'll move into public comment. We kindly ask that all in-person public comment is limited to 2 minutes, maximum per person, or 5 minutes for a group spokesman. Please keep your comments civil and constructive and related to public policy issues. In the event that questions are posed to the council, we will note your questions in the meeting minutes and will refer to questions to the appropriate department or staff for follow-up. Public comments may also be submitted electronically. And I see Mr. Baffa, you want to come forward? We ask you to state your name and your address, please.
My name is Jerry Baffa. I live at 910 Ridge Road in the Sandhill condominiums. I'm also the president of the condo association. And I did not prepare a speech because I don't think there's words that can be written down in regards to changing the lane structure from Calumet to the state line. What comments that I have heard is not repeatable. The most civil comment is, what the hell are they thinking? I even had discussions of people who live out of state talking about it, and they're thinking, what? I strongly suggest that you table that project so that clearer heads can think this out. I was here once before in regards to this situation. And I asked if you guys would put a traffic light by our driveway. Because at times, even with 4 lanes, it's difficult to get in or in out. So what is 2 lanes gonna do? Unbelievable. There's just no words to describe it. You know, and I asked again, are you gonna put a traffic signal in my driveway? No response. No response here. Anybody want to comment about that?
As I mentioned earlier, we will refer that to question in the meeting minutes, and we'll refer the question to the appropriate department and staff, and then we will follow up with Mr. Baffa.
I also like to thank the chief and the police department in keeping the riffraff out of Munster, especially what occurred in downtown Chicago this past weekend. I think they're doing a fine job, and they should be noted that he's doing such a great job.
Thank you. We'll also note that. Very good. Okay, again, we just ask you to state your name and your address, please.
Patricia Pikarczyk, I'm at 910 Ridge Road, Munster, Indiana, and the condominiums. My concern about having this 2 lanes one way, each way, on Ridge Road is not a good idea. One of the things we had recently, in 1 week, 3 accidents where cars ended up going across the sidewalks, running into different building and into the structural manor and over at the bank. Now, if you have people that are gonna be going up and down there with babies and strollers and riding bikes and that, if these kind of things keep happening, you're gonna have more people hurt. At least we didn't have anybody hurt, but you could have somebody hurt if you're having more people and you got less road and people they're just not gonna be patient. I see that as a big safety factor for Munster. And like Jerry said about tying up the road, that when we had I-94, like recently, what's going on, we have all this traffic that comes through. It's gonna be worse when it's a big tie-up or something more. So I just don't see where you feel that it's feasible to have 2 lanes, only 2 lanes instead of 4 lanes between Calumet Avenue and State Line. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw one other person, it looks like. Sure.
My name is Leroy Frank, and I live at 242 Harris Drive. And I am against the narrowing Bridge Road. Just like the previous people have said. It's ludicrous to do that. And 50 years ago, we widened that street, a Bridge Road. And I believe the center lane should be for police, fire, and ambulance to go through. And I know this has happened in Cherville and also where I used to work. I've been retired 14 years. And Blue Island Bridge is widened in 127th. And that center lane is for emergency vehicles. I believe we should have neighborhood lights, street lights, just like Hammond, lit up. I believe in safety, and I believe we should have 4 policemen added to the force, like I've been told. And I don't like the bus situation. The electric bus costs $400 million. I mean, $400,000. That the school bus, a diesel only costs $150,000 down in Lafayette, Indiana. And the electric bus, the seats weren't mounted correctly on the front. He had to fix it. So that's about it.
Okay, we thank you very much for your comments, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the council? Seeing no one else rising to the floor, I'll close the public comment section of the meeting, and we'll move into consent agenda. However, before we move into consent agenda, I would like to call attention to items 1D, local road, or 1D, local road and street annual report, and also 1E, annual red flag report. Those reports were not attached to the board packet.
The appropriate attachments were not there, so we're gonna move them to May 1st.
So those 2 items are being taken off the consent agenda.
And will not be considered today.
Okay, so with that being said, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda minus items 1D and 1E?
We accept the consent agenda as described.
I'll second. There's a motion, a second. Any discussion, please? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Gardner.
Yes. Then we move into 2A, which is old business. This is ordinance 1898. This is for second read. This is the additional appropriations. Clerk Treasurer, miss anything to add to the memo?
This is, we read it, had first reading last month. This is asking for an additional $700,000 in appropriations. We have the cash to support it. We knew that this was coming based on what our budget number came in at, and so that's it.
It's the same as it was at the last meeting.
It is the same as it was at the last meeting, so no changes. So we reviewed all the property tax supported funds, and this is the only one that we see at this time that needs an additional appropriation.
I move we approve ordinance 1898 as presented.
Second. There's a motion, a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Gardner.
Yes. Moving into new business, this is item A, which is the pedestrian bridge NIPSCO potholing. Deputy Town Manager DiTomaso would like to add anything to the memo.
No, I think the memo stands on its own.
Very good. There is a recommendation.
Mr. President, I move to authorize the town manager to sign the contract with Bloodhound to complete the hydro excavation work at a cost of $36,000. $38.00.
There's a,
Second that.
there's a motion, a second, any discussion?
I would just point out that when we've run the comprehensive plan project, gathering input from residents, there was great interest. If you look at all the places on the map where there were hotspots and suggestions. This pedestrian bridge, for those who are uninitiated, would cross Hart and Katy Marsh ditches from the ditch straight over into Highland and make it a breeze to get to Lincoln, the Lincoln Center and vice versa. So I know this is a very early hopeful act to do the right sort of boring to make sure that NIPSCO can be on board with it. But I'm glad to see some motion after quite a while.
Very good. I would also, mention that this is a very important connection to our bike trail system. However, the time that it has taken to get from the initial planning to now, it's because there's so many different pipelines and crossings and utility easements and things like that. It is a high priority in the town. It's just that there's a number of hurdles that we are facing with this project. Any other comments or questions? Then there's a motion, a second, roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen,
Yes.
Counselor Mellon,
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Gardner.
Yes. Item B, this is the Public Works purchase of a 2023 American Road leaf vacuum. Is there anything to add to the memo that's in front of us from the Director of Public Works, Stephen Gunty? These are beautiful pictures on the screen. There's a recommendation.
Mr. President, I move that we authorize purchase of 2 additional dosing pumps for Metropolitan Industries for the quoted price of $14,515. Wait, did I read wrong?
You skipped ahead one.
I'm sorry. Equipment.
Net price.
That.
Net price of 90.
Somebody wants this.
But we approved the purchase of the Brown Equipment Company for a new 2023 American Road Leaf Vacuum with the trade-in of $7,500 for a net price through Sourcewell of $90,000 to replace unit 393.
There's a motion, a second, any discussion?
This is this is a very intriguing piece of equipment that gets the whole town very excited. I do wonder if we could put some sort of, with President Iran being here, building stronger, some sort of town motto or something on the device.
We pick up things faster than your town.
There is a motion, a second on the floor. Roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Gardner.
Yes. Moving on to item C, Public Works purchase of 2 additional hypochlorite dosing pumps. Deputy Town Manager D. Tomaso, anything to add to this memo?
Not unless you want me to say anything else.
There is a recommendation in front of the board.
Mr. President, I move that we authorize the purchase of 2 additional dosing pumps from Metropolitan Industries for the quoted price of $14,515.
There is a motion, a second, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Gardner.
Yes. Next on the agenda, ordinance 1899. This is for first read. This is amendment number 2 to the 2023 salary ordinance. Clerk Treasurer, miss anything to add?
I see our police chief getting up here. There are 2 pieces to this ordinance. The first one is increasing the police force by 1, and then adding, which I'm sure Chief Shekel will speak about, and then adding the opportunity for transitional employees. Right now, if we are limited in our salary ordinance to a specific number of employees, this will allow us for 30 days to have someone in training and it will allow us to have two people in one position for 30 days so that we can prepare for potential retirements and, new jobs and new staff. So
Very good.
there's a nice memo about that as well.
Yeah.
Now for the 44th officer.
Chief Steckel is here. We want to, Chief, anything to add before we make a motion?
Other than our memo, which council has, that's basically, we outlined our justification for that, adding that position.
Very good. So there is a recommendation that we approve ordinance 1899 on first read.
Mr. President, I'll move to hear ordinance 1899 on first reading and set second reading for the next regular meeting.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion or any questions?
I will just point out that it said when you do good work, what do you get? You get more work. And, what's pointed out in the memo that crime rates are down, so some people might think, well, why would we need more officers? Doing good work might take more work, and there's some justifications for a number of force is going up while crime is going down, if I understand it properly. I did have one question, Chief.
Sure.
We applied the new school resource officer for Wilbur Wright. Was that part of the original 43?
It was.
So this is effectively backfilling a position.
It's backfilling another man on the street too, which I didn't include in the memo. The school town of Munster, though, is paying that officer's salary and benefits, so we're made whole. However, it does take one more person off the street.
Very good. Other questions? I guess I would also, the additional transitional employee was a direct recommendation from the Board of Safety, and we appreciate the Board of Safety taking their role in this. And then we did include that to other grade 10 positions throughout the town of Munster, so all departments can receive some benefit if that situation does arise. So, very good. I don't believe we have a motion yet.
We do. Counselor Tulowitzki.
Oh, we do? Okay,
seconded by
there's a motion, a
Counselor-
second. There's no more discussion. Roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Garden.
Yes. Moving on to item E, this is the ordinance 1900. This is first reading also for estimating water accounts.
This is, happens occasionally throughout town. We've got about a dozen people, 6 to 12 people who currently their meters aren't reading. And we have requested of the resident to have access to their home to upgrade those meters. 99% or most of the time we get quick and easy compliance. However, there are these 6 to 12 that are still reluctant to upgrade their meter, and we can figure out what's going on with it. So this establishes some recourse that the town has to help us get compliance from those residents.
Very good, thank you. There is a recommendation to the council.
We hear proposed ordinance 1900 on first reading and scheduled for second reading.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion?
For Treasurer, I'm just curious. We've reached out and are we unable to make contact? Or there's no phone answer, no response?
We've reached out and then I believe we reach out, we tag the doors, we ask them to contact us. We've tried to contact. Our utility billing clerk is very diligent and tenacious, and she works very hard to try and get them to respond. And so this is to help.
We spend much more than $50 salary cost trying.
Possibly, yes. She takes it very seriously, and, we want to get every home to have every resident water meter reading, so we're estimating this just is one more arrow in our quiver.
Very good. There is any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Garden.
Yes. Next on the agenda is item F. This is ordinance 1901, rezoning the property at 800 MacArthur Boulevard to a special district, plan unit development district. Planning Director Vanderwood. And I still go with Lansing.
Thank you. Yes, this is an ordinance, ordinance 1901 has been prepared. Adoption of this ordinance would rezone a property at 800 MacArthur Boulevard to planning and development, also known as a PUD. The subject property is owned by the community hospital. It currently has a office building and a 3-story parking garage located on it. It is zoned currently CD4A. CD4A district limits the height of structures to 50 feet, and it also limits the number of primary structures on the lot to 1. Because they are seeking to add 2 stories to that parking garage and exceed that 50-foot height, as well as adding a carport deck to the top of the structure. They are seeking to rezone this property from that CD4A district to the planning and development. This was presented to the Plan Commission on March 14th at a public hearing. The Plan Commission reviewed the application. There were no remonstrances heard, and the Plan Commission voted 6-0 to forward a favorable recommendation for approval to the Town Council. I'll also note that there is a detailed development plan that was approved contingent upon the approval of the PUD. And this is just a 1-lot zoning district, but it is consistent with the community hospital planning and development, which is immediate.
Very good, thank you. There is a recommendation from the Plan Commission that's in the board packet.
I would move to approve. Is this approval or first reading?
So it's a zoning ordinance, so you only have one reading. So it'd be motion to adopt.
So, motion to adopt ordinance 1901, rezoning the property at 800 MacArthur Boulevard to an SPUD district in accordance with plans submitted under PC docket 23-.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions?
Were the residents who live nearby invited to meetings or given some communication concerning it?
Yes, the public hearing was advertised in 3 ways. There was a sign placed on the property. There's a legal notice published in the newspaper 10 days prior to the hearing. And then all the property owners within 200 feet of the parcel were notified by a certified man.
Nobody showed up to the street.
Nobody showed up, and this particular structure is located, I don't remember, it says it in the staff report, but it's quite a distance away from any residential properties, so typically when you look at a height restriction, you're looking at things like casting a shadow on adjacent property, and in this case, it's so far distant that would not be an issue.
We had also discussed at Plan Commission that the height of the parking garage would be the height of the hospital, so it would fit the form of
No higher than.
Very good. Seeing no other discussion, roll call please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Gardner.
Yes. Moving on to letter G, this is the Munster Police Department radio upgrade. There is a memo from Lieutenant Damon Johnson. Chief is here to answer any questions. Is there anything you want to add to Lieutenant Johnson's email or board report?
You want to add anything?
No.
Okay,
I
so-
was.
Sorry about that. You were walking, I was talking, so, very good. I think the recommendation is that we would approve the purchase of the Munster PD Motorola radio.
we need to state the purchase price.
The purchase price in year 1 is $455,070.34. And then there's annual subscription fees thereafter, and it's $20,130 for years 2, 3, 4, and 5. So a grand total of $535,590.34.
How would this be paid?
I love that question, Counselor Schoen. We would like to discuss it at the, our thought is to use, ARPA money. We have other sources, but we would like to use ARPA funds for this. We have approximately $1 million left in ARPA funds. This would take $535,000, and that would still leave us with about $400,000 to use. We have other thoughts for funding, but right now that's the one that's rising to the top.
Very good. Other questions? So the motion would be for the total price over a number of years of the 530.
535, 590, 34.
We're approving, is there the extra 20,000 this year, or does that start next year?
It starts next year.
Very good. There's a, what I would believe is a recommendation from the police department to purchase these Motorola radios communication for a total of, again, Wendy?
I just want, sorry. On the quote on page 5, it says a number just a little higher than that.
3,000 higher perhaps, yes. It was updated. We got, I don't remember why, we had a little price, a little something, and it didn't get updated in the
quote.
yes.
Just want to make sure we.
Yes, but this is the correct number. This is the updated number.
Okay, so I would make a motion to approve the purchase of the radio equipment for price of $535,590.34.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, and that is the correct dollar amount.
That is the correct
Okay.
dollar. And we will, in the general review, we can talk about payments and if you want to move forward with allocating, committing ARPA funds.
Okay. Very good. Motion, a second, any other discussion?
I would just say, again, thanks for the police department bringing this to our attention, because obviously, I mean, this is the buildings that they currently can't use them, especially the schools, hospitals, or town hall. And I think the council for being responsive to the request of the police department. We've been, addressed a couple of concerns that they've recently brought to us, and so happy that we're communicating well with them and supporting them.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes. Next on the agenda is disposal surplus equipment. We will take both of these memos, the one memo from the clerk treasurer and then also the other memo from the police department. We'll do that in one can we do that in one recommended date action?
Yeah.
Since it's under the same item.
Yeah, I tried to put them both.
So,
And really, the refrigerator is the town hall's common area. We just. Then the police department has their items to dispose of.
Sure, it's almond colored.
I'm not really sure about the answer for that, but.
yeah. Very good. Is there a recommendation or a motion?
I move that we authorize the police department to destroy the listed property and remove same from the current inventory. That's for the one. Do we need a similar motion?
You do them both at the
It's just
same time.
And
And
Yes.
the disposal of the town hall refrigerator.
Done.
okay, that was a motion by Mr. Schoen. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Very good. There's a motion, a second. Any other discussion? See none, roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Gardner.
Yes. Okay, moving on to letter I. This is the economic fiscal impact analysis regarding Lansing Country Club. Andrew Anderson, anything to add to this?
No, but I'm available for questions.
Good.
me ask a question.
Sure.
This is a cheap question. But can you just give for people who might not be familiar with Lansing Country Club, and why it would be good to have the independent third-party financial analysis, which is sort of high level.
Sure. The Lansing Country Club was bought by Saxon Partners. Saxon Partners is a development or corporation. They deal with office, primarily office, some residential in certain parts of the country. Some elements of their portfolio include shopping malls. For this particular site, they're interested in having offices. And they have been going on a number of different tracks to make that plan come to fruition. They've gone to the Plan Commission. You might have seen them there. Everything that the Plan Commission does is based on the caveat that, you know, you can do this if you want, but in no way does the town commit to providing any material benefit to you. And on another track, the Lansing Country Club, Saxon Partners, I use interchangeably as an entity, has been in conversations with the town, myself, Mr. Westland, council, about how they can achieve access to that site. Because if you look at a map, you can see a big spot of empty land in Munster and in Lansing, but they're predominantly interested in the Munster side. And they say, well, that's a really nice opportunity, but how do we get there? There's NICD land, there's NIPSCO land, there's town property, and they have to traverse those three entities to enter into the property from the north and from the south. So that's one area of conversation. And the other area of conversation is the cost to achieve that. And what we call the cost of infrastructure. So the cost of creating those connections, the cost of providing water, sewer, stormwater infrastructure, things like that. So earlier in the month of March, there was a conversation between council and the Saxon Partners, a big old family meeting, right? It was a lot, everybody who wanted to come was here, and everybody kind of shared where they're at. And it was clear that the town has very reasonable concerns about the development. So what is it going to do? What will it be in 10, 15, 20 years, right? One of the concerns that was articulated was, okay, that's great if you come here and build pretty offices for people, but if you sell it to a nonprofit, then it's not productive. What does that do? And they said, well, we'll give you a pilot, which is a payment in lieu of taxes. And then reasonably we said forever, and they said, oh no. For X amount of time. And then again, reasonably, we asked, well, what happens after that? There's all kinds of questions. What will it be for a number of jobs created? What's the value of those jobs? Will those people likely live here? Will they not? What would be any kind of sales tax impact to the community? There's a whole host of things that could cascade into positive benefits for the town, but we don't know the answer to that. Likewise, when we ask the developer, they don't know because they don't have access to it and they don't have the ability to answer those questions because they're primarily focused on being really good at building buildings and filling them with people who pay them money and then they sell the buildings. That's their line. Their line of business isn't to analyze the good or bad things that happen to towns. They're looking at their side of the ledger, right? So it's clear that we have reasonable questions. They have a reasonable explanation why they can't produce those answers to those questions. So we got together, a smaller team, and said, well, we can't really make any kind of financial commitment or discuss meaningfully what it would look like to provide a financial commitment to you unless we have answers to these questions. That's just not something that would be a responsible thing to do. And they said, oh, I understand where you're coming from. What if we paid for an economic development impact analysis, which was a suggestion that our financial advisor produced to us, and it was not the developer's suggestion. The developer said, you can choose them. We would like to use our own financial advisor, Baker Tilly. So Not only do we get to choose the consultant team that does this, they would work for us and the developer would reimburse us the cost for this analysis. So tonight I'm asking if you would like to consider that opportunity to answer some of those questions that we reasonably have on someone else's dime.
I think it's part of us doing our due diligence to a development that is that large and does have a potential for impact to the community. It also has a potential for positive impact. So it's our due diligence in reviewing the development.
Thank you for that description. I fully support that. When things get this complex and they're this important and they're this sort of permanent feeling, many decades, it's best to have experts come in and support our decision. So I would support this. And I would, if there are no other comments, I make a motion to authorize the town manager to execute the economic impact analysis.
Very good. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion a second. Any discussion or questions? Again, I think it's a good next step into this process to really evaluate the impact that it is going to have on the community. Very good. No other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Gardner.
Yes. And letter J, this is I believe it's a SELA proposal that's in front of the board. Earlier tonight, you received the updated renewal order form. I'm trying to put the memo here.
Yeah, I say it's a whole $300 less. So the total for the year would be $9,303.17 rather than.
And there is a recommendation from the council.
President, I move that we authorize the town manager to enter into a one-year service contract with Excella Inc. for the public stuff program.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Schoen.
Yes.
Counselor Mellon.
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Counselor Kulturitis.
Yes.
And Counselor Gardner.
Yes. There is no other new business. Under reports, there is a Ridge Road frequently asked question document that will be online. Also, I'd like to read a little bit of a statement here. The town council members and staff have recently received many questions regarding the Ridge Road streetscape plan. The idea to improve Ridge Road was addressed in the 2010 town comprehensive plan. The council members, staff, and residents at that time highlighted opportunities and desires for the corridor. With the South Shore train extension closer to reality, the council decided it was a good time to address what had been talked about for many years. The town hired a consultant to develop a plan to improve stormwater runoff, reduce neighborhood street flooding, improve walking and biking connectivity, and make the corridor more attractive and safer overall. It was a year-long process that included extensive community outreach activity that engaged both staff, businesses along the corridor, school administration, and residents for their input. That process produced a concept plan. Now it is time to engage a design engineering firm and traffic specialist to conduct a more in-depth analysis. The design and engineering phase will include more public discussion and full staff input, including our fire and police departments. It will analyze current and projected traffic volumes, traffic speed, potential spillover to neighboring streets, emergency vehicle accessibility, and safety improvement strategies. It will also identify solutions for long-term issues like the double stoplight at Harrison, the volume of curb cuts, and the abundance of unsightly utility poles. The goal is to produce an outcome that all residents can be proud of and one that will improve the quality of life along the Ridge Road corridor. The project will invest $21 million into the northern part of Munster, with $4 million coming from the town due to a large federal grant we received in 2022. The $4 million will be taken from on-hand accounts that must be used for capital projects. We are restricted from the grant parameters and state statute on how to legally spend these funds. A list of frequently asked questions, as I mentioned earlier, is available on munster.org. Please email questions to any of the council members up here or to the town manager. And with that, that's regarding the Ridge Road project. The other announcement I'd like to make is this Saturday is the Earth Day celebrations beginning at 9 o'clock with a weed wrangle. It's being sponsored and administered or managed by the Munster Civic Foundation and a number of different groups throughout town, among them Munster Historical Society. Is there any other reports or announcements to make?
Mr. President, I'd just like to thank you for reading the article. There's a lot of information, and what can be relied upon is the frequently asked questions that'll be posted on the town website as well as in the report section. This agenda. This agenda item.
Very good. Thank you. The only other announcement I have to make is on May 1st will be our next regular town council meeting and redevelopment commission meeting.
Room assignments we have a couple extra meetings this evening.
Yes. Immediately following this meeting is a redevelopment commission meeting, which usually doesn't take very long. Then the council will be going into an executive session in the conference room C in the town manager's conference room. And the Munster Civic Foundation will be meeting in room A across the hallway in the round table room. For those appropriate announcements.
Can I ask one more question?
Well, you can ask after meeting, Mr. Bappa. Okay.
No, the question is about the radios. Are we getting any money for the old radios?
We will answer that question after the meeting. Motion for adjournment, please.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That meeting adjourned. Mr. Castro, you can come forward.
Here I come.
Do they currently have? So, they.
Okay, let's go to the redevelopment commission. Yeah, I will call the Munster Redevelopment Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schoon,
Present.
Commissioner Mellon, Commissioner Tulowitzki,
Present.
Commissioner Kulturitis,
Present.
and Commissioner Gardner.
Present. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak to the Munster Redevelopment Commission? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Move this up to the agenda.
I second that.
There's a motion, a second regarding the consent agenda. Any discussion?
Okay,
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schoon,
Yes.
Commissioner Tulowitzki,
Yes.
Commissioner Kulturitis, Commissioner Gardner.
Yes. Is there any old business? Any new business? Any reports? Any announcements?
I would just like to acknowledge our school board liaison, Mr. John Castro, is joining us up here on the dais. My apologies, John.
No problem. Don't mark me absent.
I won't.
You will get a good mark.
You walked in, I flipped you and I got you.
Very
listed
good.
here.
I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. For the
Adjourn.
Second.
motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Very good. And again, the people that are here for the Munster Civic Foundation, we will be meeting in the round table room in approximately 15